Hey, Sean here. So I wanted to do a brief video for the group Elite Secrets. The other day I posted regarding a debt lawsuit and how to counter that debt lawsuit and basically break free from it. So it all stems from how currency and money is created. So number one, money, true money, is actually gold and silver. Okay, so currency, and then if some of you know, if you've dug a little bit into this, you understand about JFK, and he created the silver certificates, which if you turned in those bills, you could actually get silver back then. And the gold standard, we've heard about the gold standard. Okay, so Federal Reserve Act was approved by Congress and the President in 1913, and the Federal Reserve Act made that the Federal Reserve Bank is the only one that can issue currency for this entire country, the nation. And it's tied into the central banks, but it's the main one. And then, so money is printed out of thin air. Money is printed out of thin air. It's mind-blowing, but yes, money is printed out of thin air. It's not tied to gold anymore. Our currency is not tied to gold at all. Okay, so understanding that, now we get into how it makes us basically indentured servants. So, yeah, it's a little bit depressing, but it's good to know. Okay, so you get a credit card, and you get the credit card thing in the mail. Everybody gets them, and you say, yep, I want your Capital One credit card. I, Sean Doe, agreed to pay this $3,000, right? You send that back to Capital One, and then right away, when they get that, they are actually funded by the Federal Reserve Bank for $3,000. Federal Reserve Bank types amount, $3,000. So now they have a $3,000 on their account booking, okay? And then when you use money and you pay it back, what are they getting? If you use all 3,000 and then with some interest, you might pay 3,500, right? So then they've got 3,000 plus your 3,500. Now they've got 6,500. Yes, they give a little bit to the Federal Reserve, and that's the Fed interest rate. So that when we hear about the Fed interest rate, that's where that comes from. So now the thing that I want you guys to take away from this, here's a tip, is to validate your debt. Okay, so any debt you have, ask for validation of the debt. There are standard form letters out there. Many of these standard form letters come from consumer credit bureaus. I don't want to say that's a scam, but they're not fully on top of this, and it's basically, I believe, it's created by the bankers, you know? Just like going to your doctor to talk about vaccines, right? Yeah, okay, we're going to go to our doctor to talk about vaccines and drugs, when the vaccine makers, the manufacturers, and the pharmaceutical companies are the ones that are teaching the doctors about vaccines. So why would we go to the doctor and talk about vaccines, right? Okay, so it's the same thing. Consumer credit counseling, you're going to go to them and talk about your debt and stuff. They're basically working for the benefit of the banking institutions. It's a national association, okay? So when you validate your debt, I can help you with that kind of stuff. I'm not doing this as a service. Nope, this is not something I want to get into, but I can point you in the right direction. And then so this validation, debt validation, is basically you doing your record keeping, your bookkeeping, okay? So, hey, I want to make sure that all this stuff is lined up. I want to make sure that these accounts are actually mine. Hey, did I really sign for this? You know, that's a valid thing, right? I want to make sure that I truly signed for this. And with so many things of debt buyers now, so you get behind in a late payment, a couple late payments or something, and then you got these debt buyers that are buying the debt for pennies on the dollar. So many debt buyers out there now, and so many debt collection agencies. And really with debt collection agencies, if they are after you, you send one letter, in the most basic sense, is to validate the debt. You want to see your original wet ink signature on that agreement. Okay? They can't provide that. I explained a little bit ago what happens with that wet ink signature. They can't provide that. Number two, you want to, sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. But you're basically validating the debt. You want to see that that is yours. And if they can't do that on a debt collection agency, then that has to be wiped from the credit bureau. At the same time, you can, if you have creditors calling you, at that same validation letter, you can also throw in there like a cease and desist, and to only contact you via certified mail, not standard mail, via certified mail. So yeah, you send that letter out, they get back to you, they show you account numbers and statements and your name and address. No, that's not your original signature. And you ask to see and make an arrangement to see the original wet ink signature. Okay, you have that right. This is called the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. There's UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. So there's Universal Commercial Code also, and all these get into that. It's pretty in-depth, but there's some standard stuff out there, and like I said, I can link you to that if you're interested, especially if you got creditors on your back. You gotta get them off, okay? And by validating the debt, and they can't validate the debt properly, in the end, you could actually get that cleared off. You may have to go down and file a lawsuit. So I'm in Santa Clara County in California, and that's like a $250 filing fee. But once they get a lawsuit in there because you've sent letters of validation and they haven't validated your debt, and you still got this outstanding thing out there on your credit report, you want that cleared up right away, right? And because money is printed out of thin air. So that Capital One, that Citibank, that MasterCard, you know, they never went into debt to loan you the money. Now, if I personally loan you the money and I said, hey, I worked for this $1,000 of Federal Reserve notes, and I'm going to lend you my Federal Reserve notes. Hey, I got paycheck stubs to prove that I worked for that money. I've got my agreement. I would lock that agreement up in a safe. And then, you know, if we had to go to court because you didn't pay me the $1,000 back that I loaned you, I've got your written signature right there, you know. I got my paycheck stubs to prove it. I've got the withdrawal notices from my bank that money came out of my bank. And so they don't have the same checks and balances as us because money is printed out of thin air. It's mind-blowing, it's unbelievable, and this video got a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I dropped some heavy-duty stuff right here. And when you get into the mortgages, it's even more insane. So I'll leave some links to some videos and a couple other things. If you want to search for this, I think use DuckDuckGo. You're not going to find this kind of stuff on Google. If you do, I'd be surprised. And hey, you know what? Do your research, validate that debt, and you know, hopefully it helps us prosper a little bit and you know, learn at the same time. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.